Hello there, we're live from our studios here in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992539. This is your home of fearless, credible and independent journalism. Our lead stories this hour. President Akufo-Addo pushes for expedited vetting as he finally releases a list of 24 deputy ministers plus former Deputy Finance Minister Charles Dubois-Hene, now Minister of State. We'll take you through the list we have and get some analysis of the value that these people bring to these positions for the state. Transport Committee in Parliament meets with operators as the chairman decries the over 800 lives lost in the first quarter of this year. We bring you highlights of this meeting as we continue our pursuit of an end to road carnage. Also coming up, regulating media content. The National Media Commission and National Security Intelligence operatives arrest operators of 2 television stations for illegal transmission and airing of offensive content. So what exactly is this content? We'll show you and give you details as posted by the Communications Minister, Esla Owusu-Kufu. Those are top stories this hour. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu. Affordable, safe sanitation. Join us on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. We're streaming live on YouTube and on our social media handles. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. President Akufo-Addo has finally released the much-anticipated list of deputy ministerial nominees. The president earlier today submitted to the Speaker, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, the names of his deputy ministerial nominees for Parliament's prior approval. He's actually asking them to be quick with it. It includes names of deputy ministers who have been retained, as well as some new entrants. Shortly, we'll get some reactions from some of the nominees. But first, my colleague Winston Amwa has a copy of the list and he joins me right now in studio. Well, those are some of the pictures of the people, new entrants, I must say, who are joined. Winston, it's good to have you. Let's take a viewers through the list that we have.
Yeah, so if you look at the list now, there's creation of a Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance. That's Charles Dubois-Hene. So we've been focused very much on the deputy ministers, but Charles Dubois-Hene now, you could classify it as a bit of elevation. He used to be deputy minister during the previous administration and now becomes the Minister of State. And at the Finance Ministry, Abna Sayasari retains her position as the deputy minister. We know that Kweku Kwating is now chairman of the Finance Committee, and so he is not there. Charles Dubois-Hene has become Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance, and so he's been elevated. Then John Kuma, who was CEO of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan, NAPE, contested and won, became a member of Parliament, first-time member of Parliament. He goes to the Ministry of Finance also as a deputy minister. At the Trade Ministry, in the previous administration, you had 2 deputy ministers. Now there are 3 of them. Nana Duku Esiameje, member of Parliament for Kuapem North, was deputy minister for information under the previous administration. And Michael Otribefi, member of Parliament for New Jabing South. He was the CEO of the Ghana Free Zones Authority. He becomes Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry if approved by Parliament. And Herbert Krapper, who at a point was spokesperson for Nana Akufo, the Director of Communications of his campaign, he became the government advisor on governance and legal affairs, is going to be a Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry. At the Energy Ministry, now, William Oreku Edu and Mohamed Amin Adam have been maintained as deputy ministers energy. Of energy. But Andrew Ejapa, a member of Parliament for Sekendi, comes in also as a deputy minister for energy. Local government decentralization and rural development, Augustine Collins in team and Obi Amwa maintained in that particular ministry. But there's a new addition, Martin J. Mensah, a member of Parliament for Techiman South, the Techiman South, and he was a deputy to Dan Botry when Dan Botry was Minister of Regional Reorganization and Development. And so you could see that looks more like he's followed Dan Botry into this new ministry when Dan Botry was moved there.
Okay.
The Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration Ministry has Thomas Mbomba and Kweku Aprechim Sapol. The Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, Alfretia Yeboah and Diana Asinaba Dapa. Food and Agriculture, Yao Ado and Mohammed Hadi Tufero. At the Education Ministry, you have John Intim Fojo, who's a member of Parliament for Asin South.
Also a new entrant.
Yes, a new entrant. And Gifty Chum Ampofo. She's been retained. Now, at the Health Ministry, you have Tina Gifty Mensah, member of Parliament for Wejagbawe. She's been maintained. She was there in the previous administration. And Mahama Asay Seni, as a new entrant, is coming. The Lands and Natural Resources Ministry, Benito Wusubio, is maintained. But there's a new addition, but there's a new entrant.
Okay.
George Mekuduka, member of Parliament for Takwal Swayim, has been nominated as Deputy Minister. Roads and Highways, Mavis Nkansa Bwedu and Stephen Pambin Jalula have been nominated. Then Transport Ministry, and that's where
a lot of people have eyes there.
Yes, because Hassan Tampuli is there, member of Parliament for Gushegu. He was the CEO of the National Petroleum Authority. He won his election in the 2020 elections. And Frederick Obing Adam. Now, this is the ministry that Titus Glover was deputy minister. He's not featured in the list. Defense Ministry, Kofi Amankwa Menu. Interior, Nana Iya Kwansa. Communications and Digitalization, Ama Poma Boateng. Housing, Abdullah Abanga. Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Moses Enim. Railway Development, Kweku Asante Boateng. And Sanitation and Water Resources, Amidu Sahaku Chinia. And Tourism, Arts and Culture is Mark Okreku Mante.
Right.
And Gender, Children and Social Protection, Lariba Zuwera Abudu. And Employment and Labor Relations, Barry Prokobo, will be maintained in that particular ministry. Information has a new deputy minister. This time round, one deputy minister, Fatima Abubakar. And Youth and Sports has Evans Opoku Bobie as the member of, deputy
minister.
Youth and Sports Minister.
Okay, so that's the list that my colleague Winston Amwa has just gone through for you. We'll be taking, zooming in and taking a bit more, like a much more closer look at this particular list. And like I was asking earlier in the headlines, what value do they bring to these positions? We'll be joined also by a political scientist, so we have a quick conversation. But let's start from who made it and who didn't make it. We've seen quite a number of new entrants, as we put it. So far, you're counting like how many new entrants?
I've counted more than 20.
More than 20?
Yes, about 20 of them. Yes,
and this is a list of what, 27?
There's a list of 46.
46?
No, a list of 40. No. This is a list of 40, actually.
Okay.
It's a list of 40, because now if we add these deputy ministers and the minister of state to the 46, it takes it to 86 now. When Eugene Ahin released a statement on the 21st of January 2021, it actually talked about the fact that there will be not more than 85 ministers.
Okay.
Not more than 85 ministers. Well, but there's more than 85. There's 86.
But it's still close. But that's you adding. Is that you adding the Minister of State?
Yes, I've added it into it.
Well, maybe that's.
No, but he's still a minister, because if we hadn't added him, then we'd have had 85.
Okay.
He's a minister, so you add him and it becomes.
So you're saying that so far you've counted about 20.
Well, 20 of them.
20 of the new entrants.
Yes,
which of them stands out for you?
Well, I think that
start from the finance and perhaps the energy ministries.
Well, yeah. So John Kuma, but you see, with John Kuma's position, we'd have to do a bit of also analysis and look at a bit of regional balance, I'd say. I mean, he's been CEO of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan. He's been a member of the NPP. He's been with, the Young Patriots. And so we cannot doubt the fact that he's a loyal member of the NPP. He's shown when he became CEO. Now he's become a member of Parliament. So you'd expect him.
He's risen through the ranks.
And so if he's been made a deputy minister, you wouldn't be shocked or surprised. I think the shock is where he's been placed as the deputy finance minister.
But why is that? Why is there a shock there?
Well, it's a shock for many persons because, when the list initially came out, until Monday, when his name came up, many persons were made to believe that it was going to be Charles Dubois, who also until Monday we knew was going to be a deputy minister again. Already the president had indicated that he was acting as his representative at the Ministry of Finance when Ken Ken Ofori-Atta was away in the US. So that was the situation. But also we can look at John Kuma's appointment from another perspective. And this is the perspective. You know that during the first term of Akufo-Addo, you had Ken Ofori-Atta, Abnose Asare, Charles Eduboahin, and Kweku Kwarteng from the Ashanti region. Now, Charles Eduboahin's father, Eduboahin associates very much with the Eastern region. Abnose Asare, member of parliament for I think Etiwa East, West, one of them, and also from the Eastern region. Ken Ofori-Atta himself from the Eastern region, and Kweku Kwarteng was from the Ashanti region. Now, Kweku Kwarteng is moved to the to Parliament as chairman of the Finance Committee in Parliament. You know, when Marcus Ibeyebwa lost his primaries, MPP was thinking of filling that particular position, and Kweku Kwarteng has distinguished himself as having a good understanding.
So you see John Kuma as...
So I see John Kuma as...
The replacement?
The replacement. This is like taking one from the Ashanti region, bringing another from the Ashanti.
Is it so much about regional balance when it comes to the finance ministry rather than...
No, I am not saying that, but also...
that's what it looks like.
It makes political sense that you don't keep one region in a ministry. It makes political sense. I mean, these are things we wouldn't say openly, but it makes political sense not to keep one region.
In one ministry.
In one ministry. So
I see.
Minister, deputies, all from the same region? No.
I think Ejapa Mensah has also come up quite, pretty interestingly. People have looked at the role he played when it came to defending the Ejapa deal, for example, the role he played when it came to speaking to the issues about PDS, etc. Some people have seen this as a sort of reward for that work. Is that how you see it as well?
Well, I think that Andrew Ejapa Mensah has distinguished himself, communicated for the party. I mean, he's also had his fair share of controversies. But when the chiefs of the Western region went to the president and requested certain positions to be given to the Western region, the president, and in that letter on the 21st of January signed by Eugene Ahin, indicated that they were going to have a deputy minister of energy from the Western region.
I see.
Now, a deputy minister of energy from the West region, and mind you, Joseph Kujo, who was a deputy minister for energy coming from the Western region, had been moved to become Minister of State in charge of public enterprises. Now, once he was away, you're left with George Mirikuduka and Andrew Ejapa Mensah. Why? Because we do know that for all those who lost their seats as members of parliament, they have not featured in this government. Look at it.
Okay, we'll get there.
Nobody.
We'll get there.
Okay.
I'm going to raise that so we treat it specially. But you're talking about Mirikuduka and then Andrew.
So you're left with Mirikuduka.
Both of them have found their way on this list, by the way.
And also because now, so in the Western region, then you had the likes of Joe Gate, who wasn't giving a position.
At all.
You had Kobno Chidakum as Member of Parliament for Takrady, Kobno Chidakum, Western Regional Minister. You have first-timers like, Dr. Prenzama for Kwesimintim. Okay. You have first-timer like John Sani from Mpaho constituency. Okay. And so if you look at the Western region, for instance, and if you have to choose a minister, a first-timer like, Samuel Erickson Abaka from the Shama constituency, you're left with two-timers, Ebenezer Kojokum, who's chieftaincy minister, Andrew Ejapa Mensah, and then you have George Mirikuduka. So it would make sense that these persons get positions. And if you look at it critically, coming from a mining area, for instance, when it comes to George Mirikuduka, it would make sense if he's made Deputy Lands and Natural Resources Minister. And then for Andrew Ejapa Mensah, who I'm told in the last administration, it got to a point in time, they really would have wanted to make him Deputy Minister when there was a time to do so. But so it's one person who was certainly going to be given something. And what a way to do it if you're moving Joseph Kujo from the Sekondi Takrady metropolitan area. Well, now there's Effiang Kwesimintim Municipal Assembly, but in those days, if you're moving someone from Effiang and you brought another person from Sekondi, it would make sense. Okay.
Winston, I'll come back to you. Let me just pause you briefly. I want to get on the phone lines now. So we'll talk to some of these people who have been nominated, maintained or retained. And let's find out what value, for those who were in, who are still in now, what value do they add? and what more are they bringing to the state? When I'm done with that, we'll talk about no seats, no selection. I do have Bright Rekobrobe, who is the Deputy Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, joining us online now. Sir, thank you for your time. Good afternoon. How does it feel?
Good afternoon, Gibson. Good afternoon to the cherished viewers and listeners. This has been speculated for some time now. The president met us last week, so at least we are assured of what was going to happen. And by grace and by your prayers, I think today has been the official timeline. Once this communication is communicated to Mr. Speaker, it triggers the process, and then we are going through. So I feel very much humbled. I am honored that in the Lord's own time, some of these things are coming. Being a deputy minister for the second time running is something that, for me, I think that it's marks of confidence from the presidency into your activities, and it also places some burden on me to continue to help.
Which is exactly what I was coming to. Sorry to interrupt you. The fact that you have been appointed the second time, there are several people who have been dropped off the president's list, but you have been able to make your way through it. What value do you think you actually added to not just the presidency, but to the state as a country, to our development? That has kept you here.
I think that by and large, like I said, first, I'll give thanks to the Lord, and then also to the president, and also to the many workers in Ghana who have opportunities speaking to the president, and even you, Gifty, yourself, the way you talk to me, the way you question me when matters related to the labor front come. I think that by and large, my minister is entrusted with ensuring that the labor front and labor relations and, the value chain of employment is well coordinated. This is what I bring to him. The name of the ministry, which ends with labor relations, is not for nothing. We have to ensure that we have the best of relationships between employers, between employers and workers, between government and employers, between government and labor. And all of these things demand that one exhibit a certain level of skill, i.e., humility, love for one another, respect for labor, and so on. And for me, I think that having supported my minister in doing this over the last 4 years, the president, to borrow his words when he met me, said that he doesn't want to disturb the relationship between me and my minister in ensuring that the labor front is very calm.
Okay.
And this is what he told me. So I think that it really encourages me for me to continue to give off my best to ensure that His Excellency the President's second term is something that so marvelous and Ghanaians can have the benefit.
We'll see how it goes. But speaking about labor relations, there have been quite a number of agitations, industrial agitations. I mean, you can talk about doctors, they've had their own, you can talk about teachers, even mortuary workers have had their own, industrial actions. What is the strategy this time around to make sure that these issues don't escalate into some of these litigations before we deal with it? What's your strategy?
Yeah, the first thing for you to know is that we are dealing with human beings, and therefore agitations are very real. They are natural. They will come. As and when they come, the way to manage it is the contentious matter. So as they come, and the way we relate to labor and call them, listen to them, give them attentive ear, and more importantly, resolve their matters. Most of the time, the issues don't emanate from our ministry. They come from sister ministries. And when labor comes to us, that is where we exhibit leadership. My minister would always get in touch with sister ministers and ensure that whatever it takes to address an issue is done. We do not sleep. We work round the clock, in the night, at dawn, every time, trying to make sure that relationships are strengthened.
In the previous administration,
this is exactly what we're going to do.
Okay, Mr. Rekobrobe, in the previous administration, we saw quite a number of the ministry taking sort of a legal position when it came to resolving some of these matters, that you go to court or you go to the Labour Commission to actually compel agitating workers to go back to work because you would have described their actions as illegal? Is it that you weren't able to have this conversation that you are describing, which is why you had to resort to legally forcing them to work?
Yeah. You see, I'm so happy you are recounting some of these. The processes of these agitations and their resolution, and probably with the legality. We have not used the legal means as a first step. We have always tried to speak and speak and speak, but the legal processes, that probably is giving me the mandate now as a designate or a nominee to be speaking is the same legal processes that we use. So after talking, if misunderstandings are still there and we are not trying to make headway, then we go to arbitrate and then make sure that the law speaks. And that is how come in some of the resolutions we have to go to the National Labour Commission or to court to make sure that people are kept in line to do what they have to do. But it is not the first option that my minister and I have been using. Remember that anytime you call us, we tell you that matters of labor are akin to matrimonial issues, and we need to resolve them behind the scenes. It only gets to your attention when we have not been able to do so, and then we plead with them until we get the law to take its course. And thank God, every time we have done that, if Labour Commission gives us any ultimatum, we have worked within that period to ensure that there is peace on the labor front.
Mr. Rakuba, I wish you all the best. I'm sure that as and when any other issues come up, we'll be able to reach out to you. And as you do, and as you have done now, you will respond to it. In the meantime, I want you to just be reminded that the teachers have been asking for textbooks. That's something that sounds like an agitation brewing in the background. Maybe something you want to turn your attention to before it blows up. Thank you very much for your time once again.
Thank you.
Right, Reku Brobe is Deputy Ministerial Nominee for Employment and Labour Relations. Winston, what do you make of the answers that he's giving us to how he and the minister intends to deal with labour front agitations?
Well, let me just say that he worked with, Ignatius Bafwewa. At a point in time, they put out, I'll come to the question, but at a point in time, they put out figures about 2 million jobs haven't been created.
How did I forget that? That was one of the things I was going to ask him. The database when it comes to employment. Maybe we can raise him back on the line. Well,
look, the thing about labor agitations is that they always would come. Around this time, you can understand that also because of the situation we find ourselves in. Apart from the very things that labor believes they are due, a lot of them would be very moderate in their agitations also, because we all know that
we're not in normal times.
We're not in normal times. There isn't a lot of money. But there'll be some agitations all the same. They have to deal with it. I have seen instances where they've compelled labor unions to go back to work because they didn't follow the right, but not them, but you've had the National Labour Commission doing so. So I would want to see this pair do more this time around, and also be able to provide the data that they promised in the last administration that they couldn't provide. Because the thing about data, and I mean employment data, is that it helps all of us to plan. We know that this is the number that we have, and then we get more. But in Ghana, we throw out figures, and when you're challenged to prove it, they say, "I'll come back," and they never come back.
Yeah, and I remember how this thing played out. Even at the ministers' vetting in Parliament, it played out very strongly. I had that at the back of my mind. I just don't know how I skipped it, but we'll try and get him. Well, this is just his first response to this one, so we'll get more on that. But Winston, you were talking about no seats, no selection. It looks as if from what you've studied the document and reviewed, if you didn't win your seat, you were out.
Yes, because I think it was on the 20th of January or so when I read a report that indicated that for ministers who lost the elections, they're not going to come back.
It was in the report?
No, I mean it was in a story that I read, that said that ministers who lost their seats weren't going to come back. Now, when I look at the two, appointments, the ministers and deputy ministers, not a single person who lost his seat is back.
Okay.
Yes.
But the presidency has a quota that ought to come from Parliament in terms of who is appointed.
More than 50% from Parliament. And so once there's more than 50% from Parliament, that's the end of it. And if I'm to look at this list, I mean, I could just tell you one, I mean, about 30,
it looks like there's a deliberate attempt.
About 30 of them are from Parliament anyway. So, you know, that's the point. And I'm saying that, look, it was obvious that for anybody who lost his seat, he wasn't going to come back to Parliament. I mean, he wasn't going to come back as a minister. Mention Anthony Kabo. He lost his seat.
Yes.
Anthony Kabo as Deputy Roads Minister, he lost his seat. Bernard Okuboy was appointed in the last year of Akufo-Addo.
Exactly, yes.
And, I mean, that was made known to the public that if you lost your seat, you are not coming back. And so, Bernard Okuboy, fantastic Deputy Health Minister, unfortunately for him, he lost his seat.
I mean, I'd love to hear from you if you're watching us and listening to this. Jump on our social media handles and let us know what you think about these ministers who have been dropped, deputy ministers.
And then you look at, you know, Titus Glover. He lost his seat in Tema East. He was Deputy Transport Minister. Do you see him in the list? He's not back.
He's not, yeah.
Exactly. Look, there was a Paul Asian of the Jomro constituency. He lost his election. He's not back in this government. For those who lost their elections, and it actually helped, you know, the president to also give you know, younger people the opportunity to also serve, because you've seen lots of young people coming in and all of that. Many of the persons that we've been talking about below 50 years, not a bad one. So for those who lost their seats, they didn't show up in this.
Do you think this is a deliberate effort to remove those who did not win back their seats, or this is just actually, it looks more like a random thing that just happens, more like a coincidence?
No, this is a strategic decision to make sure that happens. But you see, this is the other point. When you are a minister and you lose your, and sometimes you are made a minister also because it's, and if you're made a minister from a certain constituency, for instance, if you win a constituency for the first time, and that's why I am not surprised that, you know, even though that was an NPP seat for Tampoli to win the primaries 6 months into the elections, campaigned very well, won handsomely, he's been rewarded with a deputy ministerial portfolio. So when you're made a deputy minister or a minister and you lose your elections, you have no justification to come back, particularly when you're a sitting member of parliament. So if you're a Professor Jan Bafo and you've been member of parliament for Winchi since 2004, and in 2020 you lose your seat where Buzia hails from,
then you're obviously
there's no justification to come back to into the government as a minister. So that's the situation that happened there. Joe Garte, there's been
also
lots of speculation about why he was out, but you know, I'm not.
I mean, what are people saying behind the scenes, by the way?
I'm not going to get into that. But the fact that people have said that,
it'd be interesting to hear from him.
Well, people have said that because he wanted to be president.
Benefson said it. Benefson said it. So.
But some had actually said that earlier, that he wanted to be president, he should concentrate and become president. But that's it for those.
So he's lost his seat.
Yes, but one person whose name I do not see here, that I'm surprised, is Patrick Boama.
Why are you surprised?
Well, I'm surprised at Patrick Boama. I'm surprised because he's a third-time member of parliament. He was deputy minister in the previous administration. He's back in parliament, and so you'd ask yourself, why is he not a deputy minister? Maybe he could even have been made a minister, but his name is not in here, and that's one thing we probably may find answers to later.
Okay, Winston, let me just bring in Professor Jampo into this conversation. He's a political scientist, University of Ghana. He's joining us via Zoom. Prof, good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
I'm sure that you've seen the list already. You must have had some conversations around the list as well. What do you say?
Now, I've not heard about your conversation. I was teaching, I just finished, and so but I've seen the list.
Okay.
I think basically I am just excited about the fact that the size of the government has been reduced, and for me that is what is the most important thing here. The rest is just a matter of the prerogative of the president. The size of the Akufo-Addo administration during his first term of office was unprecedentedly high in the history of politics and governance in Ghana since independence. Now, civil society leaders and opinion leaders, including some of us, had critiqued the size and had called for a drastic reduction in the size of the government. But in response, we were told that the end justifies the means. Well, the 2020 elections were held, and we saw that the results that I have described as a victory, a taste of defeat for the MPP, was indicative of the fact that the huge size government and the many ministers couldn't do more. They couldn't do much to ensure that the party did what it was expected to do. It was a victory with a taste of defeat for a regime that always said the battle is the Lord's, and yet assembled so many people as if the battle was meant to be fought by men.
So you are impressed with the number for this term? You are impressed with the number for this term?
Yes, I am. I'm saying that the point I want to make is that I am happy that at the minimum, Akufo-Addo is supposed to do things drastically that would help him leave a lasting legacy for Ghana as he goes for his second term. And one of the drastic things that I was expecting that he would do will be that he would reduce the size of his government. And he's done that. And for me, I commend the reduction, even though I still feel that the numbers could have still hovered around 45 and 50. But we are told it's hovering around 80. Yes. It is fine. I mean, it's better than the over 120 people who were appointed and all that. So it is something that we must commend the president about. Okay. And like I said, I would have wished that the number was reduced from over 80 to around 45 or 50. But okay, let's leave it like that. The other bit that I've observed is that it appears that women representation in ministerial appointment and deputy ministerial appointment, and the number hasn't really changed. In the previous regime, there were 10. Now they are still 10. I was thinking that going forward and wanting to leave a legacy in the psyche of many Ghanaians, he would have brought a lot of women to the fore. But this hasn't been done. Maybe, I don't know whether this time he will do more reshuffles, in a second term, so that he brings more women and gives
his second term?
The chance just to...
Did you say his second term? Oh, you were hoping that he will do more reshuffles in this term?
Yes.
Oh, right.
I'm hoping that this, his first term was reputed to be the most stable government in the history of Ghana's Fourth Republic. He virtually did no reshuffle. And all that. So I am hoping that now that he wants to leave a legacy in the minds and the psyche of many Ghanaians, he may do more reshuffles so that he will bring more women in to further advance the quest to ensure that women take their rightful place, in decision making and in politics. But beyond this, I think that it is the prerogative of the president who has the mandate to determine and to decide who he wants to work with and who he doesn't want to work with. It is the president who is the chief evaluator of the performance of the various ministers and deputy ministers, not you and I. And so it is the president who knows a deputy minister who has performed, and the president who knows a deputy minister who has not performed. And so it is his prerogative to decide who he wants to work with and who he doesn't want to work with. I've heard people saying, but why was this one not in, and why has this one been brought in? I think that decision is entirely in the hands of the president. The buck stops with him. When there are praises or blames, he will take them. And so he is having the mandate to assemble a team. And he's done that. And I think
speaking of that, Prof, there are people, as my colleague Winston here has just highlighted in his analysis, it looks like those who lost their seats, none of them has been selected to be a part of this government. Does it have any political significance?
Well, but that's a rational thing to do. You have a hung parliament, and you need people to be there to go prosecute your agenda to ensure that government business wasn't bestalled and all that. And so, if you are not in Parliament, and we need members of Parliament to also be MPs so that they can also advance the business of government, then you have no business receiving any appointment, ministerial or deputy ministerial appointment. I think that is a strategic, politically wise thing to do. If you lost your seat, you should just go and rest somewhere.
So you've mentioned size and female representation. I don't know if you have any other observations, but my next question to you was what your thoughts are of what looks like a youthful selection, as Winston puts it. He says that most of the people you can do the calculation and say they are somewhere 50 under 50. Does it also have any significance, or you have any observations around that?
Well, we criticize the previous regime or the first term of President Akufo-Addo's government as plagued with gerontocracy. It is not always the case that wisdom always is in the gray hair. A nation that severs itself from its young people would bleed to death. It will not be able to develop and all that. So there is always the quest and the thought of giving young people the chance. And so if this idea has also been accepted by the president, and so he has relatively younger people joining his government, I think it helps us as we try as a nation to season, groom, and mentor people to be able to take over the mantle of leadership of this country. If the future belongs to the youth, then the youth must be prepared for the future now.
In a nutshell, what would be your expectation generally of this lean team, as you put it, and how they deliver?
President Akufo-Addo will not be contesting for election again. He would want to do things that would outlive him when he's no longer in office. And so I expect that the people he's assembled will be able to help him to achieve what he has set out to achieve. If they are able to be successful in doing this, we would benefit. We, the ordinary people, would benefit. If they fail, we would have wasted our time. And so I wish them well. I'm expecting that they will live in working to inch themselves closer to the vision of the president, so that at the end of the day, a legacy will be left, and then the lots of many Ghanaians would have also been bettered.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Unless you have any other observations apart from the size and the female representation, I'm done for now. Professor Jampo there from the University of Ghana is a political scientist. They're sharing his thought. He thinks that it's good that we have, 86?
86, yes.
Winston, and also he is concerned about female representation. He's hopeful that there will be more reshuffles that will bring in more women as we go along. Winston, I know you have some thoughts on that. Let me just bring in Michael Ochubefi, who is the Deputy Trade Minister nominee. Mr. Befi, congratulations.
Thank you very much, my sister.
Okay. I spoke to one of your other colleagues earlier, and he said that this has been circulated for a while. It's been speculated for a while. You've had meetings. So at this point, you're not really in a surprised state. But what do you bring on board?
Thanks for the opportunity. I guess that assertion was right. Just over the period, it has been in the media space for some time now. I'm talking about the list. It seems to me that people have a window of it, so that's the situation now. I have been in this system for some time now, doing politics and also corporate work, and I've worked with the trade minister for some time now, working with him at the manifesto committee level before we won the 2016 election. I also served as a member of the transition team then, the Trade and Industry Subcommittee, and also working as the Chief Executive of Ghana Free Zones Authority. I think I have what it takes now to help my Honorable Minister to achieve the industrialization strategy of government, to push the agenda forward for us to achieve the ultimate industrialization of this country.
I think one of the key things that people within the business, setup complain about is the cost of doing business in Ghana, which we constantly lament. Also, there is the after now that a lot of people are saying Ghanaian businesses should cash in on this opportunity that we have, but the Ghanaian businesses do not seem to have the muscle, call it the financial muscle, the technical know-how sometimes to compete evenly with the other people who will all be coming to us after. What is the plan, if there is one in your mind already?
I think at least we have been in this business for some time now, thinking about the need for us to make the ease of doing business in Ghana here very good and also competitive so that people can do business well. That has been their worry over the period. I'm talking about businesses that operate in Ghana, always thinking about and also talking about the ease of doing business. That is just not too good. But I guess now we have the opportunity also to bring what we know on board and also to see what we can do. I mean, looking at what happens in other jurisdictions and over the period, what has happened in other places that has helped their economies to change in terms of the ease of doing business. We are sure we'll be able to do something. We are so sure. I'm so clear in my mind that I have a plan in place that I can suggest to my honorable minister and also my colleagues, because the after is a big opportunity for Ghana. So Ghanaian businesses should be able to take a huge opportunity in this arena.
But they can't do it on their own. Elsewhere, governments have supported these businesses so that they'll be able to compete evenly with their counterparts in other countries.
But I think government does that through technical support and sometimes giving what we call stimulus package to businesses that hitherto has been down or has not been functioning so well. Government has done well in the area of stimulus package and trying to revive businesses that were dead, were not functioning well.
Okay.
And the support still exists. I believe that we should be able to support a lot of local businesses. Because one of the key things that when I was at Free Zones, I tried to achieve was trying to build the financial muscles and capabilities or capacities of local businesses so that they'll be able to compete with the international business. Because most of the times, most anchor businesses that set up in the free zones and even in the system comes through foreign direct investment. Then when these businesses want to exit, I mean, the owners or promoters of the business want to exit, we don't have local business people who have that muscles
to take over
in terms of finance to be able to acquire such businesses.
Right.
And so we tend to now to go to international stock markets and find other investors elsewhere to come in, and that is not a good thing for Ghana.
Okay.
So that's one of the key things that we have to work on trying to change the status quo.
Mr. Oshubefi, these are still early days yet, except that you have been at the Free Zones board, and so let's not push it too much. We just wish you all the very best at the vetting, and we'll take you from there. Thank you for your time. Michael Oshubefi, Deputy Trade nominee for Deputy Trade Minister nominee there. Winston, do you want to answer from the previously, or you want to have a quick one on this?
Well, he's not getting in there. Yes, he's been. Yeah. He's talked about how he's worked with, the minister. The minister while they were drafting the NPP manifesto for 2016. We've talked about after. We've talked about the, implementation. Not long ago, Imani had a program, and you had the Kasapeko rep talking about some of the challenges that they've even faced as a result. Yeah. Look, I just pray that, we don't turn after into an oil find that we did in Ghana some time ago. It's good to talk about these things, but don't let it seem like it's the panacea to solving all your problems overnight. Well, problems don't get solved overnight all of a sudden.
You start from somewhere.
You start from somewhere, but a lot of the conversations now after with coming into force of after.
I think people are genuinely concerned about our ability to take advantage of this opportunity, and I think it's a well-placed concern.
We're supposed to take advantage of the oil. It's been 10 years. We're here.
Let's see how it goes. Let's keep the focus on the politics. Okay. So I was asking your thoughts on what Professor Jampo said as we wrap up, Winston, about the size. He's impressed about the size. I think a lot of people constantly talked about the size. So But then he's also concerned that there is very low female representation.
Well, but even when it comes to the size, Professor Jampo makes the point that he probably thinks that our ministers could be 45 to 50.
Yes.
That's a promise the MPP made in 2000 about having about 45 ministers, something that could not be done at the time. Yes, I can agree that the size has reduced, also because a lot of the ministries that were in place in the first administration of Akufo-Addo, really, if you looked at them, you say these ministries were not necessary. I mean, you could just have a desk for those ministries. You don't need a monitoring and evaluation. You're two deputy ministers. So I can understand why this time around those ministries have been scrapped and merged with other ministries. 45 is always going to be difficult because if they're to appoint deputy ministers. But also, we must get to a point where we must agree that a lot of the deputies may not be necessary. And so sometimes, because look, if you look at this list, there's no deputy chieftaincy minister.
Yeah.
There isn't one.
So I guess it depends on the work, because again, if you go back and you look at the list, you have energy, trade and industry, you have finance, you have energy taking 3. I mean, even for finance, you have 4. So I guess it depends on the work there, because finance ministry works with almost all the ministries.
Good. And you talk about local government decentralization, rural development.
And there's 3, exactly. That was quite curious for me as well.
You ask yourself that simple question. Local government, rural development. In fact...
And you have your MMDC.
MMDC is one.
So, yes.
Another thing that, the regional ministers do, the regional ministers actually serve as coordinators of, the decentralization process. So they also have a role to play in all of this. Yeah. And that's why, for this ministry, for instance...
You don't really need a lot of deputies.
But hey, the president's prerogative. Well, the female representation is still not the best. It is 86 now. I think 70 would have been...
70 women?
70 ministers, no.
Oh, right.
70 ministers and deputies is something we should aim at doing as a country.
Okay, Winston, thank you so very much for helping us with this analysis. Winston Amwa is deputy head of our political desk, of course. We've taken you through the list. We've spoken to some of them. What value are they adding or bringing to on board to us as taxpayers? You've heard them. We'll see how it all goes. You're still watching The Pulse with me, Gifty and Apia. A very quick break. I'll be right back. We still have 2 more big stories for you. It's time now for our Drive Safe campaign, and Chairman of the Roads and Transport Committee in Parliament, Kennedy Osei-Nyarko, has described as unacceptable the needless deaths on the country's roads. Over 800 people have died through road accidents, making it the #1 killer in the country. The committee is today meeting with transport operators in the country to understand their concerns and to agree on a workable solution going forward. Opening the meeting, Mr. Osei-Nyarko said the government has every intention to end the menace.
I have to say that it has been a fruitful day. The discussions have been very important.
Honorable, thank you. I just want to suggest that out of this meeting, some of us will go back and would want to write officially to you, and then on this matter, how do we address it? Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
So you write to the chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Roads and Transport. That is all. That's all you have to. You bring it here. You put it in my PGO, or bring it to my office. Yes. Okay. So I think we have all raised very germane issues, very important ones. But I'm happy that all of us sitting here agree in principle that the mandatory towing is something that can also help in minimizing the carnages on our road. Am I lying? But your problem, your issue is how it should be implemented, or even how the deduction should be made. If I got you right, you made two proposals, either one through insurance or one through the DVL. The vehicle income tax issue, it cannot happen. It's a specific tax on the car, so it cannot be. Government cannot, unless you want it to be increased. So that one was introduced. It's a tax that has been introduced specifically for something, and the law has been passed. They can't say that we are taking some. On the insurance part, that would have been the best way. Now you know how things are done in this country. We have different insurance companies, private insurance companies. It's not that government is going to change them or bring all the money that is collected from these people at a pool. That is why government says that. Whether you are private, you are commercial, you are whatever, every year you renew your roadworthy certificate. So government want to have control of those funds so that it can make sure that it can be applied properly. If insurance will not be better, if it is 20 cedis you want to pay at DVLA, maybe when you go to the insurance, it will not be 20 cedis. It will be higher. So we should put the insurance aspect, we should put it behind us and look at the roadworthy one, the renewal, how much we are prepared to pay. That can save lives on our road. That is the most important. I'm happy that all of us here, and coming from you, the operators in the sector, have agreed that in principle you accept and you want government to bring back that mandatory to now, but now you want us to engage in more conversation how it will be implemented and the deduction. So we'll put it down. We'll engage the minister. Maybe we'll have another forum after engaging the minister. All of us will meet and we will see. And I can assure you, I'm happy Mr. Adakabri made a certain profound statement. He said that now, the ideal situation, like some were advocating, yes, it's good. Now we will have about 10 companies providing the towing service. Which of them have the capacity now? Which company have the capacity as it stands now? There are individuals who own these small towing, which are even rickety vehicles, old vehicles, not modern one, cannot pull. We are talking about heavy duty, big vehicles on our road.
The chairman of the Transport Committee in Parliament with the transport operators, well, leadership of the various drivers' unions equally had their own concerns.
We enforce the speed limiters. Our buses, you cannot drive beyond certain speed limit, and that is what is helping. Then the training, we train the drivers. Yearly we do two types of trainings. We have it for our drivers. I think that as stakeholders, we should try and then enforce and encourage training of our drivers yearly. If not once a year, I mean twice a year, at least once a year you should do it. Now the issue of the removal of vehicles on the road, I think there was a stakeholder conference in 2017. The issue, I think in that conference, I think in Takoradi, if my memory serves me right, was that it appears the whole thing was mortgaged to one person, one company. The conference said that they should decentralize. But most people were arguing that they should decentralize. Instead of giving it to one individual or one company to manage, they could decentralize it. They could get several other companies to come on board.
Because it's expensive. One thing, that I think can be done is to have rumble strips. First on the side, one in the middle, one on the other side. So that anytime you are veering, it makes noise. I'm talking about the ones that are cut into the road instead of the ones that, so that once you get off the road, once you're going right, it makes noise, it alerts you. You're going into someone's lane, it makes noise, it alerts you. And I think that can help a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. My name is Godfrey, the General Secretary for GPRTU. First of all, I would want to appreciate this very effort for inviting us to this meeting. I would want to suggest that your last submission shows that the meeting today is narrowed down to the new reintroduction of the new towing fee. But I think if that was the agenda, I think road safety could have been extended with the invitation to be here today. I would want to say that road safety have tried several interventions with the policies, but the key problem that is facing road safety has been that monitoring and supervision of those new laws they bring. The monitoring and how to actually enforce those laws they bring. Let me mention a few for you to get my point. You see, with data collection, they have mentioned about 800 deaths through road accident within the first quarter. But they have not been able to tell you as to whether out of those accidents, how many of them fall as a result of overspeeding, and then some of them which actually fall within the agenda for today's meeting, whether as a result of some of the untowed vehicles that led to those accidents. I think they should be urged to do more in terms of getting us more insight about the data collection that they do.
This opportunity, drivers don't want to pay car owners, but if it is bill is either on road safety or insurance bill, you shall pay. But if you exempt it from insurance, if I'm paying 10 cedis on insurance and you use 2 cedis on it, I won't care. But if you say pay 10 cedis, pay 2 cedis, people won't do that. So I will plead to do that. It is very good. I have to tell the insurance committee, insurance companies, if accidents comes down, their work will be more.
There are drivers under so much stress, and out of the stress, a lot happens when drivers may become impatient. Education is very key. Education is very key to the extent that if we do not have dual carriage, if we do not have even semi-dual carriage, can we educate ourselves as to how to share what we have now? Because if drivers are educated as to how we share the little that we have, it appears we do not know how to share. We don't have it. We don't have dual carriage, but we have the single carriageway. How do we share? I think participant from STC made the point about driver education. If in the training room we are taught how to share, at least that will be a starting point. Then we can go further to talk about certain areas that are dangerous, that every, say, 10 kilometers or 10 miles, having stayed behind slow-moving vehicles, there should be an opportunity for you to safely overtake them. So if, say, every 10 miles, we can make, say, 2-1, where you get to Jaso 3-lane, you get to Konongo 3-lane, you get to small Kofodia approach, there's a 3-lane, where you get the opportunity to overtake slow-moving vehicles. We can look at it in the medium term. Then in the long term, we can have our dual carriage. Because it appears we do not have coordination from the transport, because every transport operator wants to protect their passengers.
That's how the conversation went down in Parliament today. We're hopeful there will be very good news as we go along. Well, many people, including health officials, have praised a 33-year-old midwife for her selflessness and commitment to save lives of pregnant women and their unborn babies in a hard-to-reach community in the Ashanti region. Without access to an ambulance, Delali Gavo of the local Motokrada Chips compound has improvised the wooden doors to transport expectant mothers to the health facility so that they can deliver their babies. Ohimin Teria of our health desk traveled to Kotokudra community to follow on the exploit of this extraordinary midwife and has come through with this report.
Motokrodia is a small farming community in the Sache East district of Ashanti region. It is one of the hard-to-reach areas in the district, with thousands of hamlets scattered in the thickest of a forest. Many of the settler farmers are plagued with many waterborne related diseases and other health conditions. Justice Ofori Amwa is the district director of health.
When you get to Motokrodia, it's a forest, and therefore you have a lot of these community members who live in the forest, in the hamlets. So you get to community A, you get about 2 or 3 people, you move to the next. So getting them is not so simple.
Many residents living below poverty levels cannot afford healthcare services and prefer home remedies. Pregnant women often suffer near-death complications as they fail to attend antenatal clinics. Some are delivered on their farms and others are transported to the Motokrodia Chips compound for attention by the only midwife here, Delali Gavo and her team.
Some of the cases we always attend to are snake bites, scorpion stings, malaria, diarrhea. We have communities such as Titikaso, New Apaso, and Peedra, Adukrum, that they are say, and the distance is far from where they are to the facility. So we do home visiting, get to the community, we attend to some of them. The serious one, we bring them to the facility to attend to them.
Lacking access to motorable roads, ambulance or other means of transportation for critical referral cases, Ms. Gavo has improvised and resorted to the use of wooden doors to transport her clients. 2 wooden slabs are joined with nails at the 2 ends of the door to support head pads. Patients lie in a supine position on the door and are carried on the head with the help of 3 men. This ingenuity has helped save many expectant mothers and their unborn babies.
This woman was so weak and was lying there. She mentioned some complaints to me that she's feeling lower abdominal pain and dizziness. That's why she's not able to walk. After the assessment, I realized that she's having a BP, a high BP. Then when I listened to the fetal heart rate, it was very low. And I realized that water that the fetus was lying in was very green. So it gave me a signal that we can easily lose this baby.
20-year-old Zelia Yaya is among expectant mothers saved by this improvised wooden door ambulance. She had declined seeing an untrained traditional birth attendant in a nearby hamlet until Delali arrived. Thanks to the ingenuity of Delali, she safely delivered a bouncing baby girl.
I want to make cocoa maqueding, and Madame Della. Friend one casano buy, but not can a peniding. And we is any impegate, near pedriaf 3, no more pedado, no more swam. So I'm also swammy could do cocoa be as no more brown or mass, no more. Madame Della, Eda Fuku, Tido ana me papa ana Kenneth ana Sakola omo so wa me call clinic mo.
As a norm, Delali has been visiting Zelia and her baby for counseling on postnatal health. For Zelia, the wooden doll has become part of her life-saving story. She gazes at it almost every day, reminiscing. Secretary East District Health Director, Justice Ofori Amwa and his team, who visited the area, want the wooden ambulance preserved.
Seeing the door and what a door is made of and what is meant for, and eventually it has been used as something improvising to save a life of a woman who was in labor and saving the unborn fetus. I see this door to be symbolic and be used as a tourist site and attraction.
This is not the only good act of Delali. She single-handedly led the production of hospital beds to complement the ones provided by the district assembly, and also mobilized the community to fund the purchase of solar panels for the facility. She has since become the toast of many, especially among her peers. Delali was voted the best midwife for Secretary East District in 2019 and was recently selected by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives to compete for best nurse at the regional level. Mrs. Juliana Edumensa is the district public health nurse.
We know Dela to be a person who is very hardworking, so we were not surprised of her initiative as well. She has made the district proud, and we, the district, we acknowledge that. We did that when we made her the best nurse. That was in 2019. So we are also proud of her for her raising the bar.
The situation at Motokrodia is a reflection of the challenges faced by health workers in the Secretary East District in their quest to bring healthcare to the people. The district health director has acknowledged the support of the Secretary East District Assembly. Justice Ofori Amwa, however, wants public support in the provision of safety boots, water tanks, among others, for Delali and her team.
Where they sleep, some even share the wards with the clients. Even if you have money here, you can't go and hire any accommodation. The accommodation is not there. We need the support of all, not only government, but private individuals, corporate organizations should come to the aid so that we can get a decent accommodation for staff to come and stay and work.
From Motokrodia in the Secretary East District of Ashanti, for JoyNews, Ohiminteria reporting.
Some very amazing work being done by the nurse there, Dela, we call her. The Ghana Standards Authority has served notice that it will begin cracking the whip on medical laboratories which are operating without the necessary certification. Ghana adopted the ISO 15189 code in 2017 to ensure that laboratories in the country operate under internationally approved standards. But after close to 4 years of regularization exercises, less than 10 of the labs in the country have obtained the certification. Professor Alex Dodo revealed this to my colleague Manuel Kranting at the ongoing Celebrate Lab West Africa conference here in Accra.
Now to COVID, the Ghana Health Service has been seriously concerned and interested. In fact, in 2017, so that means prior to 2017, the Ghana Health Service, the Standards Authority, together with support from the US CDC, decided that Ghana has not adopted the international standard for medical laboratory practice. It is called the ISO, which is International Organization for Standardization, standard number 15189. But in 2017, Ghana adopted it. Now, once you adopt it, that means that this is the first time, or this is when you have it. Now, how many of our labs are using it? Currently, very few labs have been accredited to that level, which means that, yes, they are in the process, but they haven't reached there. And as the medical laboratory scientists themselves have said, practice is variable. until you have them all accredited, you are going to get, shall we say, different results from different labs. Some are very high, some are very low, and that is not satisfactory. Since every health worker, that's the doctor, will make his or her decision on the lab results, the lab results should be consistent, because if you get it wrong, then everything is spoiled. And now we are happy that the most labs have expressed a desire and have started the process to obtain ISO 15189 accreditation, so that when you go to a lab, indeed, what we are hoping is that very soon, when you go to a lab, since you are paying, you are going to ask that, is this lab accredited to 15189, and where is the evidence? Without that evidence, obviously, you know that you are getting service which may not be the best.
And then the question is just to give, viewers an understanding and appreciation of the situation we're dealing with. I mean, we have tens, if not hundreds of labs in the country. Hundreds? Yes. How many of them really have this certification? It's been, close to 4 years?
Within the Standards Authority, we have not given it to any. And then how many private or public? I'll be surprised if it's more than 10. Less than 10.
So there are less than 10 private, facilities, laboratories in the country
which have been accredited to the ISO 15189. It will be less than 10.
So what was the implication of this?
Okay, what does having the accreditation mean? It means that you are accredited internationally to operate at a standard. So one, even though our laboratories are beginning to operate consistently and they are doing all that they have to do, they are yet to get the license plate which says that you have arrived. So they are working towards it. I mean, Noguchi is working towards all these things, Public Health Reference Lab. For COVID, they have been doing it consistently. The reason why you need accreditation is that, yes, you are working very well today, but would you work well tomorrow? Would it be for all diseases? And we had a standard in 2017. Several copies, in fact more than 100 copies, have been bought by the laboratories. They are implementing it. Indeed, around the same time, most of our labs are working with WHO to have that same system. So what I would say is that it's like you have a lot of very well-trained drivers, but they are yet to get their driving license. But obviously, for everybody, the driving license is the evidence. So right now, should Joy go out there and look for the laboratories with accreditation, you will not get any. So for us, enforcing standards creates jobs, but keeps consumers happy, keeps patients safe. So far, our inability to have done that over the years, to the extent that Ghana at 64, very few laboratories have been accredited to international ISO 15189 requirements, means that there's a gap, and that gap must be filled. And fortunately, if we do it, we'll create jobs. So we are just telling the country that we would enforce, and if it means going to court, we will go to court to enforce. But we are doing that because consumers have paid taxes for us to do a job to keep them safe. If we fail to do that, the consumers will hold us liable, and we have no choice but to serve those who pay us, and that's the consumer, the taxpayer. So at the end of the day, their job is enshrined in law, and Parliament can even hold us liable if we fail on our duties. Thank you very much.
Really insightful. Thank you very much.
Well, government has procured 4 pre-assembled P3 labs to be added to the 30 existing COVID-19 testing laboratories in the country. According to the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, this is to increase Ghana's testing capacity for COVID-19 and other infectious diseases.
P3 labs, which will be located in parts of the country, both in the middle, the southern belt, and the northern sector, as a way of expanding our ability to test. And these are, I would say, when they say P3 labs, these are labs that have an extensive array of safety measures that has significant number of tests that will be needed, especially to support public health, our response. And so, as part of our COVID response, that's why we have also added to the package of labs, in addition to the over 30 labs that are doing for COVID, both public and private. We are bringing in the 4 P3 labs.
Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaje is the Director General of the Ghana Health Service. The states did not oppose the application for bail when lawyers for Ekuapempo, the social media sensation, applied for the court to grant the actress bail pending appeal. And Accra High Court Wednesday admitted Rosemond Brown, popularly known as Ekuapempo, to 80,000 cedi bail with 2 sureties to be justified. Kwekwa Sante with more in this report.
According to the Circuit Court, The 90 days jail sentence handed Akuapem Polo was as a result of the intrinsic seriousness and the gravity of the offences charged and the degree of revulsion felt by law-abiding citizens of this country for the crimes committed. The court said it took into consideration other mitigating factors, including the fact that Akuapem Polo pleaded guilty to the offence, thereby not wasting the time of the court, and the accused person showed remorse and had no earlier brushes with the law. But on Wednesday, 21st April, an Accra High Court, the Criminal Division, admitted Rosemond Brown, popularly known as Akuapem Polo, to 80,000 Ghana cedis bail with 2 sureties to be justified. According to the court presided over by Justice Ruby Aite, the actress is expected to report to the police twice a week and can only travel after the court has granted her permission to do so. Her lawyer, Andrew Votia, outlined the full bail conditions.
She's getting bail in the sum of 80,000 cedis with 2 sureties. She's supposed to report to the police twice every week. And she's supposed to deposit her passport with the registrar of this honorable court and to seek the permission of the court before she can travel. And that's to be done by her lawyers. We have to apply formally by a motion to be able to travel outside the country for a few days or a few months and come back. Yes. Bail pending appeal is an unusual process. Until the conviction is set aside or overturned, it's a good conviction. So it's an unusual process. But it can also be granted under special circumstances. So I canvass those. In fact, I particularized them. I started it one after the other. I went under first and young offender, the show of remorse, the guilty plea simplicity without wasting the court's time, and the welfare of the son, which the law seeks to protect. For us today, if I ask you, is the son better off or worse off today? For me, I'll say that he is worse off. For the 90-day castration of the mother, he's worse off. So the same law that seeks to protect the child is not punishing the child. Those are the special circumstances I went under, and it was helped by the judge.
Andrew Votia also noted they will follow the substantive appeal after serving the Attorney General's department.
For us, it's a step in the right direction, but this process is an unusual process. It could be denied, it could be upheld for you. But we are happy that, the bill has been granted. But the main purpose is the appeal proper. This is just a temporary relief for her to be restored back to her former state she was before the conviction. We have filed our appeal process. Everything has been filed, the written address has been made. So it is now with the Attorney General, we have served them, so they also study it. So we'll be waiting for them, for their response, then the appeal will be heard. But look as if we are going towards the legal vacation, which is going to affect it.
The sentencing of the actress divided the country, with some describing the 90-day jail term as harsh, while some thought the sentence commiserated with the offense. The application for bail was not opposed by the state, represented by senior state attorney Selassie Kuwonu in court. According to him, this is because the state had no control over the length of the appeal, which could travel beyond the 90 days jail sentence. The court will now set a date for the actual hearing of the substantive appeal application filed.
Kwakwa Sante with that report. Now, self-acclaimed money doubler and spiritualist Patience Asiedwa, popularly known as Nana Agrada, has been arrested. Nana Agrada is known for her self-acclaimed money-making ritual Sikagari. She was arrested by a joint team of police and national security intelligence operatives in collaboration with the National Communications Authority on Tuesday night. These were contained in a post by the official handle of the Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Esla Owusu Ekufo. According to the post that she made, 2 TV channels, Thunder TV and Ice One TV, have allegedly broadcast money doubling content at Kaswa in the central region, were also shut down for operating without licenses. The team seized 2 pieces of equipment which was used in the alleged illegal transmission from both premises. Now, a later statement that's just coming in from the National Communication Authority lists some 49 stations, TV stations that are to be shut down. It says NCA shutting down 49 illegally operating TV stations. And there you have it there in your screen. It says that the NCA has embarked on an exercise to shut down 49 television stations, and it forms part of continuous monitoring exercise conducted on various satellite free-to-air television platforms using the broadcast monitoring system and the radio spectrum monitoring system. The monitoring revealed that some channels were operating without valid authorization, contrary to Section 2(4) of the Electronic Communications Act 775 of 2008. It goes on and on. And it says, as a result of this, 49 channels have been identified to be operating without valid authorization. So it lists for you these media organizations. There you have it. Quite a lot. Maybe we can go through just a few for you. DAF TV, the operator is Sophia Okanse, DBA. NTV, that's North Television Limited. Thunder TV, Agrada, that's Thunder TV Limited. Power TV, Maranatha TV, MTA, Chief TV, Kiss TV, Sagani TV, and it gives you the BOC TV, OK TV, Cash TV, Lion TV, Akwesi Ewa TV, NO TV, Apple TV, SBN TV, Ejako Fabai TV, Next TV, Face TV, that's Plau TV, Paradise TV, SBN International, Ejapa TV, Nazareth TV, Kasi TV, Ahotoswo TV, SBN International, Paradise TV, Adipa TV. These are just 27 media organizations that I've highlighted for you there. We have the list we're uploading on myjoyonline.com. Do take a look at it, share it with the rest of your contact. Let me just, meanwhile, police in the central region have arrested 40 suspected criminals in Kaswa, the Kaswa enclave. My colleague Richard Kojonyako is standing by to give us more of this. Hello, Richard. Richard, you're muted. I hear you now. Tell us, what do we know?
Well, so what we do know is that yesterday the Regional Police Command promised that they were sending more men to the Kaswa area to help fight crime. So today they've detailed a lot of the police personnel to go to Kaswa, and this morning there was a swoop, and this swoop resulted in the arrest of over 40 suspected criminals. The police say they are still investigating, they are screening them, and then they will put them before court. They were involved in various offenses, and then these would be in the charge sheet when they present their cases before court. So today, if you go to Kaswa now, there are a lot of the police personnel who are there. The municipal chief executive there said that they are going to bear the cost of feeding the security persons. They want more presence of these security people in there. This morning too, there was another development. The Kaswa traditional area, that is the Fanko traditional area, summoned all the security chiefs in that particular area, and they were angry that they've not been able to fight crime in that area. They say that not a day passes by without Kaswa being in the news, and they are always in the news for the wrong reasons. They are stabbing people, they are maiming, they are killing people. There are a lot of armed robbery cases and the others. So they were questioning them, why have they allowed the situation to escalate like that? And the Kaswa Divisional Police Commander has been offering some answers. He assured them that they are on the ground, their men are on the ground now, they are fortified to ensure that all of these things are nipped in the bud. And we also spoke with the immigration officer in that area. He has been cautioning the landlords in that particular area that because of the fluid situation there, when foreigners come to rent their houses, they should know there is a 90-day period within which the people should be reported to the immigration offices, because at that point then they have overstayed their welcome and they need to be handed over to the police. So all of these things come together to cause that particular challenge that we are witnessing in Kaswa.
Richard, thank you very much. We'll be following up on that story. So some good thing happening there in Kaswa. Boots on the ground, according to the police from Richard's report. Let me take a break here. Gary L. Smith is standing by with sports on the pulse.
Thank you for staying with us on the pulse. Gary L. Smith here with the sport. Today, we are focusing on the Premier League top 4 race. After all the talk of the Super League gone, some of the instigators still find themselves in the domestic competitions. Of them, Manchester United, Chelsea, and then there's the other two who are having a great season, Leicester and West Ham. This is what it's looking like. Leicester in 3rd, Chelsea in 4th, West Ham in 5th, 6th Liverpool, 7th Spurs, and that is what we'll be looking at. Liverpool, Spurs struggling to secure Champions League slots. What will be their fate? To discuss this with me is Oreku Ampafo from our team. Oreku, thank you very much for joining us via video link.
Thank you too, Gary.
Yes, hope you are well today. So, what have you thought of the fact that potentially Liverpool, especially as Premier League champions, cannot even make the top 4?
Well, it would be disastrous, especially with no Super League around, meaning that they now have to finish in the top 4 because if you look at the financial implications for a team like Liverpool, who couldn't even afford to build on a winning team, it would be very difficult for them. And you do anticipate there's going to be a big summer, probably a summer overhaul in terms of, moving players around, selling and buying a few other players. And to do this, you need fans, and you need fans to be able to do that. And you also need pull in terms of, playing in the Champions League. No top player wants to play for a side that's not assuring him in the Champions League football. So it's squeaky bum time, and Liverpool do find themselves in trouble and would be hoping for favours from other clubs.
Well, they are in 6th, and the other big-ish team that are not in the top 4 is also Spurs. Spurs are going to be led out of the dugout tonight by Ryan Mason, who is deputizing in the absence of the sacked Jose Mourinho. How are things looking like in the last few games before the season ends? We understand from various reports that, as is typical of Mourinho's size, dressing room issues came up and yada, 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 yada. Can he turn that around before things settle?
Well, without the benefit of hindsight, things certainly do look extremely difficult for Tottenham Hotspur. They're already handicapped and they would need an outside chance. 5 points, they sit outside of the top 4. And, with just 7 games to play, that looks like quite a big gap to overturn. But it's still possible. Their only hope is for, Ryan Mason to come around with a big manager bounce, and probably one that lasts to the entire end of the season. You want to see a reaction from the players. One from, players like Dele Alli, who are frozen out from, Jose Mourinho, and players who aren't given a chance to be able to show what they do have. So it might not necessarily be too much of what Ryan Mason brings on board, but more of a reaction to Jose Mourinho leaving. And if they do get that, they could possibly have a chance looking at how the teams above them are dropping points.
And then there's, of course, Leicester City, who find themselves in the really encouraging position since they last won the Premier League. This is probably the closest they are coming to a fantastic top 4 placing. What's their story? They've made it into the final of a major cup competition, and now this.
Well, I think if you're a Leicester fan, you wouldn't be too excited. You don't want to get ahead of yourself, because if you remember last season, Leicester had an 11-point lead over the 5th place team and managed to still not qualify for the Champions League. Remember in their last game against Manchester United, they needed maximum points and played possibly their worst game as they failed to secure top 4. And Brendan Rodgers, he's been known as a coach who struggles to finish it strongly. If you look at his track record, especially at Liverpool. And so that's probably something that he might want to get rid of and this time finish the season strongly. But you look at their fixtures and it's going to be really difficult. They might have to wrap things up before their last 3 fixtures because they do have to face Chelsea, Manchester United, and then they also have to play, I think it's Chelsea, Manchester United, and then Tottenham Hotspur. And so these 3 games are really going to be difficult for them. And they would also have to keep one eye on the FA Cup final. And he has to be rotating a very thin squad. Remember, he suffered quite a number of injuries as well. So Rodgers has it all to play this time around, but he wouldn't want to repeat the same mistakes of last season.
Nice one. On our screens right now, scrolling beside you, Oriku, is the next 5 fixture slide for all these teams: Leicester, Chelsea, West Ham, Liverpool, and Spurs. Leicester play West Brom at home, and then again Crystal Palace. Then they travel to Southampton, play Newcastle at home, and Man United. How does it look for you?
Well, it's on paper, it looks like a good fixture list, but you don't even have to look too far behind. You just have to look at the weekend results. And Liverpool playing against Leeds, a match that they were expected to win, they drop points. And even Chelsea playing against Brighton at home, dropping points. It's a very difficult part of the season, especially when you face teams at the bottom part of the season, because they do need the points too. It's not as if they're just playing now for no motivation at all. Even if their relegation status has been secured and they know they'll be playing the Premier League next season, you have to keep in mind that if you finish any position higher than you are right now, one position above, and you get an extra £2 million, and in such a difficult period without fans, there's that extra motivation to finish as high as possible to earn more funds as well. So it might look easy on paper, but trust me, a game against West Brom is not going to be easy, because they do know that they have it all to play for in terms of securing their status and fighting against relegation.
Right. So we are wrapping up. Thank you, Urax, for the exposition there. But let's just put the slide on the screen again, just for the last time. This is what Chelsea's next 5 list looks like. West Ham, Fulham, Arsenal, Leicester, and Aston Villa. In there, they have some teams in the top 10 they have to play. In fact, they have West Ham, which could be tricky. West Ham themselves, of course, play Chelsea, Burnley, Everton, Brighton, and West Brom. Liverpool play Newcastle, Man United, Southampton, West Brom, Burnley. And then Spurs play Southampton, Sheffield, Leeds, Wolves, and Aston Villa. That is the story for the top 4 race. How does it go? We are keeping the conversation going online as well. Joy Sports GH across digital media platforms. That's the sport for now. I'm Gary Al Smith. Thank you for your time.
Let's end that great 2 hours with some entertainment. Let's talk showbiz is how we wrap it all up. There is more news at myjoyonline.com. Do jump on that website and check out our stories. Share them with your friends. Our top story remains President Akufo-Addo's announcement of his nominees for deputy ministerial positions, elevating Charles Dubois to the position of Minister of State. Kwapin Polo granted 80,000 bail. Our story is also there as well, and all of our social media handles out there. Murder suspect claims he mistook a aeronautical engineer for a pig at Achim Asubwa. Also, Kumbo mustn't behave like a serial killer. Adik Koka saying that to Dr. Benjamin Kumbo. Still, the conversations within the NDC, if I get pardon, going on over there. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. I would love to see you again tomorrow, God willing.